What's up, guys? It's Rob here. Welcome back. We're driving to the gym once again. And today I've got an interesting topic to discuss. And it's something that I've wanted to discuss for the past couple videos. I was thinking about it, but I just wasn't sure exactly what to say. And I'm still not entirely sure what to say about it. But I just recently went through a bit of a betrayal. And it wasn't like it was cheating or anything like that. That's a particularly harsh betrayal to deal with, I would imagine. I've been lucky enough to never have experienced that. But I just went through, what a lot of people would consider a betrayal. And, for a while I was quite upset about it. And I learned some things from it. I've gotten some pretty good takeaways from it. And I think that, I've got some lessons that I can share, and they might help anyone who's, dealing with this kind of a thing. And hopefully they'll help ease your mind a little bit. So I'm not going to go too deep into the specifics on exactly what happened, but I will say, it was a pretty substantial thing. It involved lying, I suppose. And, it was what was the worst part about it was not the actual effect of what happened from it, but I think this is true of any betrayal. It's often not the effect of what happens from it, but the feeling that you get, the feeling of sadness that you get that someone who you love has done something to you that isn't very nice. And so I think that for a lot of betrayal, that's probably the worst part. And for me, it definitely was. I mean, the actual consequences of this were really, not super severe, but just the worst part for me was coming to terms with the fact that someone that I loved had done something that, wasn't really in my best interest. And for a long time, I was pretty upset about that. And I was more so sad about it than anything. And, it would kind of consume my thoughts for a decent chunk of the day. I would be kind of fixated on this, and I'd be trying to figure out, well, what can I do about this? Is there something that I could change about myself, or something that I could change about the situation that would make things better, that would, fix this issue that we're having? And I kind of came to the realization that while there wasn't anything I could directly do, there were some broader changes that I could make just in how I look at the situation and how I interact with the situation. Because at the end of the day, I think what it all comes down to is, if someone loves you, they really don't want to hurt you. They don't want to do anything that's not in your best interest. And that's not their primary motive. Even if they do something that ends up having a negative effect for you, that wasn't their primary reason for doing it. And if anything, before they did whatever hurt you, they probably didn't even realize that it would hurt you, or they probably justified in their mind to themselves why it wouldn't actually be that bad for you. And, they basically probably kind of came to the conclusion that it was in everyone's best interest to do what they did. I really think that people tend to justify whatever it is that they do, and they're not acting with an evil intent. They're not trying to hurt anyone. They're really just going about life the best way they know how. And it might be different from what you would do. They might do different things from what you would do were you in their shoes. But we all have different experiences. And so we're all going to make different choices at the end of the day. And I think that giving the person the benefit of the doubt really helps out, and it helps you kind of come to terms with what's been done. And you realize that the person still loves you, they still care about you, they never wanted to do anything to hurt you. They just did something and either didn't think about the consequences, or they had thought about the consequences, but they justified them in their head, and they thought, they came up with reasons why it wouldn't be that bad. And it's probably one of those situations. And so I think that just realizing that, and not just coming to terms with it, but really letting it take over your thought process and really believing it truly, is what will help a lot of people get over any kind of betrayal, even if it is something as, I mean, if it's something like cheating, that has another aspect to it. That has kind of an evolutionary drive that, makes it, people are very, and, rightly so, wary of forgiving someone who's cheated on them. Because from an evolutionary perspective, if you're with someone and they're cheating on you, you don't know if the kids that you're eventually raising are yours or not. Right? I mean, now we have DNA testing and that kind of stuff, but the thought still kind of lingers with us from an evolutionary perspective. It makes a lot of sense why, people would be very averse to forgiving a cheater. And, once again, that's not what happened. That's not what I'm talking about with regard to myself. But, that's another thing that I'm not necessarily qualified to speak on. I don't know. I mean, with regard to forgiving someone who cheated on you, I don't know. I think I would have a particularly tough time with that. I don't know if it's something that I would even want to do. Because that is probably a little bit more clear cut. I mean, it's just something that is so talked about in our society and discussed that people know that's probably not the right thing to do. And it seems like there's a lot less justifying that can be done to justify. I mean, the upside of it, I mean, it's hard to imagine what the upside would be, how you would justify it. It seems more like there's personal upside and not much else. I mean, a lot of other situations where, if someone just lies to you for one reason or another, you can imagine a lot of scenarios where maybe they were doing it and they really didn't think it would be a big deal. But with cheating, it's a little bit more clear cut, I feel. And there's probably a lot of things that people should try to do to fix whatever relationship they're in before they cheat. That's just my personal opinion. So, cheating, what I'm saying doesn't necessarily apply to that, but, if it's just a general betrayal, if someone's lied to you about something, I think that looking at the situation, giving them the benefit of the doubt, and just not harboring any ill feelings towards them, accepting that they made a mistake, and maybe they're too proud even to admit that they made a mistake. And maybe they're not. Maybe they do ask for your forgiveness and admit that they made a mistake. But, people aren't necessarily the best at admitting their own faults. And, that's just something that I think you have to come to terms with and accept about people. And what will help the situation and what will help you going forward is not holding a grudge against anyone. It's not having ill will towards people. And I think that what will lead to the best scenario at the end of the day is true and honest forgiveness towards people that have wronged you. I really do. I think that you'll feel a lot better about the situation. They'll feel a lot better about the situation. And that doesn't mean that you should put these people in positions where they can betray you again. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that, if you put someone in charge of your company and they stole money or something, that you should then put them in another leadership position where they could steal money. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. You should always be wary of, who you're dealing with, but you shouldn't get hung up on the fact that they did something bad to you. I think that just ends up leading to too many negative thoughts. And at the end of the day, that kind of hatred, if you want to call it that, can really eat you up mentally and physically, and I think has a lot of negative effects, not just in terms of your relationships, but even in terms of your health. And so at the end of the day, I think forgiveness is the right path. And depending on what's been done, that could be really difficult. Especially, if the person that betrayed you was really close to you. It can be really hard to forgive, but it's also so much more important that you do forgive. If there's someone that was really close to you, they clearly have qualities that you like, and you really don't want to lose people in your life just because of mistakes that they've made. Everyone makes mistakes, and at the end of the day, you can either accept that those mistakes have been made, or you cannot accept it and be upset about it. But only one of those paths is really going to lead to an internal resolution for yourself. Only one of those paths is going to lead to you not feeling angry and feeling upset and getting your heart rate pumping whenever your mind wanders to think about what happened in the past. I mean, if you truly forgive someone and you think about what was done and you've truly forgiven them, then you're not going to be angry when you think about that thing in the future. And, it does take time. It's not a snap decision that you can just make and say, all right, I've forgiven them, I'm done thinking about this. Sometimes it takes time. It might take a couple of weeks, it might take a couple of months, but don't get caught up during those months and find yourself spiraling, having hateful thoughts about these people and what they've done. Just, let yourself think about what was done, come to terms with the fact that, those things were not the best things that could have been done, but that everyone makes mistakes, and do your best to forgive. And I think that really is the key. And that's what I've got for today. If any of you guys are going through anything like that, feel free to share it in the comments. I'd be curious to hear, only if it's not too personal. I'd be curious to hear what you guys are going through, and sometimes it does help to talk about the exact circumstance. I mean, if it's something really private, then don't talk about it. But if it's just a general thing and that person isn't going to see what you've written, then yeah, feel free to share it, and you might find some support down there. So have a good day, guys. I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.